Bangladesh political turmoil. Sheikh Hasina forced to quit as Prime Minister. Hasina flees Bangladesh. Thousands storm Hasina's home. Army monitored interim government next. Bangladesh on the boil.
Bangladesh is on the boil. Sheikh Hasina, the beleaguered Prime Minister of Bangladesh, has resigned. She is about to land in Delhi in the next few minutes after having been forced to flee from her country. It's a big implosion in India's neighbor to the east. What's going to happen in Bangladesh? What's going to happen when Sheikh Hasina lands in Delhi in the next few minutes? And what does the road ahead between India and Bangladesh actually look like? I'm Shiv. Thanks for being into the special edition of 5 Live. These are the headlines first. Bangladesh on the boil. Sheikh Hasina quits as Prime Minister, flees Dhaka, landing in Delhi very, very shortly, and then heading to London later. India keeping a very close eye. Live coverage non-stop here on India Today. Protesters lay siege to the Bangladesh Prime Minister's residence. This is the reason why she needed to get out of Bangladesh. Looting and rioting breaks out. Bangladesh army says it will form an interim government shortly. Meanwhile, big reforms on the Waqf Act. A centre is set to overhaul the law to limit the Waqf board's powers. Waqf may lose power to claim any land and may have women as members if this bill goes through. Ayodhya gang rape shocker. Minor girl allegedly gang raped by Samajwadi Party Neta and accomplice. Akhilesh Yadav cries foul. BJP delegation visits the victim's family. Big setback for Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. Top court says Delhi Lieutenant Governor can appoint MCD aldermen. Says the LG need not act as per the state government's advice. Hounded out from her Prime Minister's ship, Sheikh Hasina is in a Bangladesh Air Force aircraft and is likely to land in Delhi very, very shortly. The breaking update that we have right now is that Sheikh Hasina's aircraft is about to start its descent towards India's national capital and will be landing in the next few minutes, we are told, by about 5:15 p.m. at Delhi's Palam Airport. The VIP airport is where the aircraft will be landing. Those are file pictures of a Bangladesh Air Force C-130 Hercules aircraft. It's an American aircraft operated by Bangladesh and carrying Sheikh Hasina, who's been hounded out as Prime Minister of that country. She's likely to land very shortly in Delhi, and after a very brief stopover, which may last less than an hour, she will be heading to London. India is, of course, keeping a very close eye on what's happening in Dhaka, as well as this aircraft that is all set to land in India's capital. The Indian Air Force has kept aircraft on standby, as is standard operating procedure for today's dramatic developments from India's eastern neighbor. Gaurav Sawant is live with me for more on this. Gaurav, unfolding situation likely to shift the focus now to Delhi Airport, where a Bangladesh Air Force C-130 Hercules aircraft carrying the hounded out Prime Minister of Bangladesh will be landing very, very shortly. All preparations on the ground ready now, Gaurav.
Shiv, you're absolutely right. So the aircraft is already in descent mode. It's currently flying at an altitude of close to 24,000 feet is what we are being told. Now, when you look at this, it took off from Bangladesh, flew over Bengal, then Jharkhand, then Bihar, and then Uttar Pradesh. So it's currently flying somewhere over Uttar Pradesh, and very soon, it's descending. So very soon it would land at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in the national capital. It is a Lockheed C-130J Hercules aircraft with a registration of S3AGH. Country of registration is Bangladesh, and the aircraft is AJAX-1431. Now, it is believed that this is the aircraft that's carrying Bangladesh's ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and members of her family and some of her political entourage as it fled Bangladesh moments before a mob descended on her official residence, the Gan Bhavan in Dhaka. So she managed to escape. She's landing in Delhi. But you know what India's policy is, Shiv, and what we are being told, that she will spend some time in the national capital and then flies out to Europe. One information is that she goes to London. There's another bit of information that seems to indicate that she may choose Finland. So either London or Finland, two likely destinations where she could be headed, given India's foreign policy being very clear that India would deal with whoever is in power in whichever country in the neighborhood, and it is for the people of that country to decide who they choose to put in power. India would deal with every leader in the neighborhood. Of course, Sheikh Hasina, a very dear personal friend of India and her party, and India has had excellent interaction with Sheikh Hasina, and Bangladesh and India have had a very great relationship with her in power for over a decade and a half now. But what would this relationship be like now that she's ousted, an interim government comes in place, and who comes in next? Many questions, Shiv, that we'll have to wait for answers to.
Stay with me, Gaurav. Rapidly unfolding story. It's a story in motion. Literally, that aircraft will be landing in a very short while in Delhi. I want to quickly recap for our viewers joining our coverage right now of this big breaking international story, the top developments that we're looking at on the implosion and the Bangladesh crisis. Sheikh Hasina has resigned as Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She was seen boarding an army helicopter from Dhaka to go to a safe location. She first flew to the India-Bangladesh border to a place called Kurmil Tola in that chopper, and then boarded the aircraft in which she currently is in. She will be landing in Delhi shortly. Bangladesh Army has said that an interim government will be in place. Sources say that the Bangladesh Army chief is meeting all political parties, including the Jamaat in Dhaka, but not significantly the Awami League of Sheikh Hasina, which will have no place in the next government. Celebrations are erupting after Sheikh Hasina's resignation, with protesters taking to the streets of Dhaka, vandalizing her father Mujibur Rahman's statue as well, becoming one of the very notable images of a day of violence. Chief of Army Staff General Waqaruz Azam has called for peace amidst the turmoil. He said that all the murders that have rocked the country will be investigated. Angry protesters are continuing to storm Sheikh Hasina's Dhaka residence and was seen taking a stroll in the garden, going on boat rides, taking pictures, sleeping in one of the beds in the bedroom. It's total turmoil and a total civil unrest at the VIP residence. All wrong, yeah. This is Bangladesh's worst political turmoil in decades. Sheikh Hasina has resigned as the Prime Minister and left the capital Dhaka amidst violent, deadly protests. She and her sister have left the Gana Bhavan. They're about to land in Delhi. Thousands of protesters have stormed the Prime Minister's official residence of Dhaka, running riot at her official residence. These are pictures from inside what is the equivalent of Lok Kalyan Marg, the 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, where Modi lives in Delhi. This is what the equivalent is in Dhaka, and here's what the condition is. Celebrations, arson, looting, rioting, violence, theft, Hasina's move comes amidst violent protests calling for her resignation. The Bangladesh army has said that it will take over the interim government and that talks will be on excluding the Awami League for the new government.
আমরা আজকে যে এই পরিস্থিতি এটা একটা আমরা একটা নিয়ন্ত্রণ নিয়ে আসবো। সেনাবাহিনী শান্তি শৃঙ্খলা বজায় রাখার কাজ চালিয়ে যাবে এবং আপনাদের সবার দায়িত্ব, ছাত্রদের দায়িত্ব, রাজনৈতিক নেতৃবৃন্দ এবং আমি সমস্ত রাজনৈতিক দলের নেতৃবৃন্দকে এখানে আমন্ত্রণ করেছিলাম। ওনারা এখানে এসেছেন, আমরা একটা সুন্দর আলোচনা করেছি। সেখানে আমরা সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছি যে একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট আমরা ফর্ম করব এবং ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্টের মাধ্যমে এদেশের সমস্ত কার্যকলাপ চলবে। আমরা এখন মহামান্য রাষ্ট্রপতির কাছে যাব যে এই ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্মের ব্যাপারে ওনার সাথে আলোচনা করে আমরা একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করে দেশ পরিচালনা করব। আমি আপনাদের কথা দিচ্ছি, সমস্ত হত্যা, সমস্ত অন্যায়ের বিচার আমরা করব। আপনারা সেনাবাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন, সশস্ত্র বাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন। আমি সমস্ত দায়িত্ব নিচ্ছি, আপনাদের জানমাল এবং আপনাদেরকে আমি কথা দিচ্ছি যে আপনারা আশাহত হবেন না।
And specifically on the violence, the rioting and the vandalism that has taken over the Prime Minister's residence in Dhaka, the most VIP location in Dhaka. Here are the top defining images of what has happened after Sheikh Hasina's exit from Bangladesh. Angry protesters in Dhaka storming the Prime Minister's residence literally minutes after Sheikh Hasina fled the country. The mob has vandalized many parts of the residence and was seen going room to room, stealing items, utensils, etc. The mob has looted the Prime Minister's belongings. A woman was seen carrying bundles of saris from the house. A man was also seen laying on the ex-Prime Minister's bed, showing a victory sign. Protesters who barged into Hasina's residence were seen boating through the ponds inside the property. A man was also seen carrying with him a whole fish, looted no doubt from inside the kitchens of the Prime Minister's residence. A huge mob also vandalized the dining hall inside the Prime Minister's residence. A man recorded a video of himself stuffing his face with chicken biryani along with other protesters. A group of protesters raided Hasina's office, Sheikh Hasina's office. They were seen going through papers, stealing documents, ransacking the entire office as well. Remember that Sheikh Hasina's aircraft, that C-130J, will be landing in Delhi in just a few minutes from now. So we're going to be standing by with our reporters outside the airport to get you those live pictures in just a bit. While we wait for that, I want to bring in India Today's Indrajit Kundu as well, who's tracking this unfolding story from Kolkata. Indrajit, now it's clear that Sheikh Hasina will be landing in Delhi. Earlier, there had been speculation that she might be landing, in Kolkata or even possibly in Agartala, in Tripura. But she will be landing in Delhi. But the pictures unfolding in Dhaka are disturbing to say the least. A total civil meltdown and a total takeover of Sheikh Hasina's prime ministerial residence in Dhaka at this point, Indrajit.
Well, Shiv, unprecedented images emerging out of Dhaka. All of us who are here across the border in West Bengal and have been following the politics of Bangladesh, this is something which is clearly unbelievable, unprecedented visuals, unprecedented scenes. We have been talking to a lot of people over the phone in Bangladesh right now. The situation is very, very chaotic. Bangladesh, in a sense, has now plunged into chaos. There is no governance. Nobody knows who is in charge. The army, of course, the army chief came out and appealed for peace. the army is on the streets of Dhaka. But an interim government will have to be formed. The army chief has announced that. Till such time that is formed, this time gap between the formation and the announcement of an interim government, whoever that may be, and the army chief's press conference, a lot of chaos is unfolding. We are continuously getting reports of arson, of museum, of being put into fire. There is a retribution. There has been this sense that the opposition space was completely, shunted out. So those opposition workers, especially from BNP, Tariq Rahman,
Yes.
Khaleda Zia's eldest son, who is an opposition politician in exile, he is the head of BNP right now. He has just, posted on social media handle X. The Jamaat-e-Islami and the Islami Chhatra Shibir, which has been banned last week, their operators are out on the streets. There is a sense of retribution. There is a sense of fear amongst, Awami League. Awami League activists at this point in time. So the army will have to clearly put things in order. And you heard the army chief say that, given the situation on the ground, he has appealed to the people to not take law into their own hands. But what we have seen, that image, that iconic image, it's going to be there forever. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founder of Bangladesh, the father of Bangladesh, his image being vandalized by some people who were among the protesters. Many are asking the question on social media right now, are these the students who are actually leading this protest? Because it was about the quota movement. But the Bangladesh administration, the Awami League government have been continuously stating that the protests have been hijacked by other
The interesting part is, Indro, stay with me, I'll bring Gaurav also in. The army chief of Bangladesh, actually sent out a message saying he appeals for peace, he appeals for calm. It doesn't look like his words are being, accepted by the mobs, because the crowds are actually increasing on the streets of Dhaka. The home of the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, has been ransacked practically, on camera. People are actually filming this kind of civil unrest at the Prime Minister's residence in Dhaka. It doesn't look like the violence is going to ebb for the next few days, Gaurav. There's a real security situation brewing in Dhaka right now.
Shiv, you and I have reported this in Sri Lanka. You and I are now reporting this in Bangladesh. And in Bangladesh, it remains a cause for grave concern. In Sri Lanka, ultimately, the army was able to control the situation after President Rajapaksa left the country. But here, even after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina leaving the country, the situation does remain grim, and the retribution is a cause for grave concern. We are told that already 6 members of a party have been killed. There are reports of lynching and attempted lynching from an anti-quota or a quota movement, if I may. So from a quota movement to violence on the streets, to targeting of Hindus in some area, to targeting of minorities. All of this does indicate that the situation has fast gone out of control, and the quota issue was anyway addressed by the judiciary in Bangladesh. But the fact that Sheikh Hasina ended up using words like Razakars for the protesters, for students, and others joined the street, a protest that was initially restricted to some parts of Bangladesh, then all over Bangladesh people started coming out on the streets and then marching towards Dhaka, that the army also realized that it wouldn't be able to contain the situation, and to contain the situation the only alternative was for Sheikh Hasina to leave the country. Does indicate that the next 24 to 48 hours, if not more, could be extremely tense for Bangladesh.
Going to be very, very tense. It's a story that is still continuing to play out in a very volatile manner. Also welcoming onto our coverage Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff of the country. He's, in his capacity also looked at regional issues as well. General Dua, welcome. Apologies for coming to you late. We had a lot of breaking news coming in. Quickly wanted to get your assessment of this situation right now, sir. Sheikh Hasina, who's been literally hounded out from Bangladesh, is expected to land in Delhi in literally the next few minutes. How do you see all of this playing out, sir? There is a total implosion going on in Dhaka as we speak.
The developments in the past few hours have been very grave. It's heartbreaking to see Mujibur Rahman's statue being vandalized this way. the mobs breaking into the house of the prime minister remind you of what happened in Sri Lanka some time ago. The way the statue is being vandalized brings takes your mind to Iraq. What is happening here is a very violent protest, which seems not. Even the army does not seem to be confident of controlling it at the moment, at least. So, like someone else just said on your on this report, that next couple of days are going to be very crucial. But I think what I would like to point out, uh, beyond all this, is beyond the developments that are going on, is that there are major concerns for India. There are already reports about violence against minorities. We have 13 million Hindus,
Yes.
if I'm not wrong, the figure in Bangladesh. We also have to see, Jamaat-e-Islami is coming out in full force, and it's going to be a part of the polity as it appears. So there are those concerns that will have very long term effects on India, and I think we will have to clearly define our policy and what actions we want to take in terms diplomatically, politically, and all other which wise. I think there are reasons for Indian government and all Indians to watch the developments with great concern.
About from a security perspective, General, India has a large border with Bangladesh.
Yes.
Do you see any kind of a emerging security situation? We do know that the border security force has sounded a red alert on the West Bengal Bangladesh border as well. Overall, security wise, do you see any kind of a emerging situation there, sir?
As far as security on the border is concerned, our border security force is capable of defending the sovereignty of our borders. So that I would like to reassure everyone. Border security, the sovereignty of borders is not really a concern.
Yes.
What can actually happen is if the next regime or the next dispensation is not friendly towards India, we could slip back to those years where we had several terrorist organizations that were based on the border areas of Bangladesh, and they were operating in our northeastern states. Now, Manipur is already on the boil. Though I know Manipur does not share a border with the Bangladesh per se, but what I'm trying to say, the northeast by itself, there could be a fillip in the terror groups. So,
Important
to
point,
sum it
yes.
up, last sentence, I don't think we have concerns, and I'm sure BSF will beef up the security. I don't think our borders face a threat from Bangladesh as of now.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the situation with the terrorist groups could see a change.
Very, very important point. Northeast at large, terrorists who have taken refuge in those border areas, they could actually get a fillip as a result of this unrest in Bangladesh. Gaurav, picking up on a very important point that General Dua just mentioned, which you'd also picked up on, which is the minority Hindu population in Bangladesh, which has for a long time been persecuted anyway. The formation of a new, probably more radical element sort of government in Bangladesh means that there is a real threat to the minority in Bangladesh at this point of time, and that makes it a direct concern for India.
It indeed does, Shiv. In fact, Hindus in Bangladesh have constantly been on target, even when someone as friendly as Sheikh Hasina and someone as strong at that point of time as Sheikh Hasina was in power. But then Hindus were repeatedly targeted. The Jamaat-e-Islami was increasingly spreading its tentacles in areas and targeting Hindus, targeting their places of worship, targeting women. And India had repeatedly raised this with Bangladesh. But now, in case there is a hostile establishment that takes control of Bangladesh, because the meeting that the current army chief, General Waqar Zaman, is having is with all political parties barring the Awami League. So it remains to be seen, who comes to power, what role would organizations like the Jamaat play, what role will Begum Khalida Zia's party and her son and the other leaders play, because that is where Pakistan's ISI becomes much stronger in Bangladesh, because Sheikh Hasina to a very large extent had actually checkmated or had checked the growth of Pakistan's ISI, sent back some officials, sent back some others, but now they would once again return. So, yes, the situation could become troublesome for India's border states, infiltration-wise, terrorism-wise, and for Hindus in Bangladesh. It could be a very, very tough road ahead.
I just want to play out for our viewers, and then I'll get General Dua back in on this. I want to play out what the army chief in Bangladesh said in his address to the nation. I just want to play out a key excerpt of that soundbite where he talks about the formation of an interim government in Bangladesh, which is the immediate next step in a country that is in total crisis mode right now. Listen into what he said.
আমি সমস্ত রাজনৈতিক দলের নেতৃবৃন্দকে এখানে আমন্ত্রণ করেছিলাম। ওনারা এখানে এসেছেন, আমরা একটা সুন্দর আলোচনা করেছি। সেখানে আমরা সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছি যে একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট আমরা ফর্ম করব এবং ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্টের মাধ্যমে এদেশের সমস্ত কার্যকলাপ চলবে। আমরা এখন মহামান্য রাষ্ট্রপতির কাছে যাব, যে এই ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্মের ব্যাপারে ওনার সাথে আলোচনা করে আমরা একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করে দেশ পরিচালনা করব। আমি আপনাদের কথা দিচ্ছি, সমস্ত হত্যা, সমস্ত অন্যায়ের বিচার আমরা করব। আপনারা সেনাবাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন, সশস্ত্র বাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন। আমি সমস্ত দায়িত্ব নিচ্ছি, আপনাদের জানমাল, এবং আপনাদেরকে আমি কথা দিচ্ছি যে আপনারা আশাহত হবেন না।
General Dua, you heard what the Bangladesh army chief said. He's talking about meeting with the opposition parties, forming, an interim government in Bangladesh. Now, this is a country that is no stranger to martial rule in the past, General Dua. Do you see that continuing now? Do you see that the army is going to play a big role in whatever dispensation comes in next in Bangladesh?
One cannot categorically say that army would come to power because the way the situation is, the army is also finding it difficult to control that. I mean, I think the next few hours, in today's day itself, we will know whether army is able to control the situation or not. What happens is that since the army chief is making efforts to, and he's openly announcing it, that other than Awami League, all the parties are getting together and they're trying to sit and form an interim government. I would feel that the army chief may not want to assume power at the moment, at least, because this is not the right time to do it. However, just like Pakistan, in Bangladesh, like you started off this question by asking, by saying that army is no stranger to power in Bangladesh. So I think army will remain in a preeminent position, even if it does not form the government right away. And then developments will unfold themselves.
Okay, so we'll have to see what an interim government is and where it actually leads. Indrajit Kundu is fronting our coverage from Kolkata. Remember, Kolkata has also been part of our coverage because initially it was speculated that the aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina might actually land in the state capital of West Bengal. Indro, you're in the state that has a big border with Bangladesh. In Delhi, at the center, there are all kinds of meetings taking place in anticipation of the landing of Sheikh Hasina in Delhi very, very shortly. What's happening with the Mamta government? What are you hearing from within the Bengal government over these developments? Because there will be a fallout there as well.
Well, absolutely. Direct fallout of what's happening in Bangladesh. There will be repercussions here in West Bengal, especially across the very porous Indo-Bangladesh border, across West Bengal and other states like Tripura and Meghalaya as well. Especially in West Bengal, the BSF has been put on alert. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee has just given a statement at the State Assembly. She has appealed for calm. She has asked that everybody should exercise restraint, caution. She has asked all political parties, political leaders cutting across the political divide not to post anything, not to say anything that would only give rise to some sort of a communal flare up on this part of the border here in West Bengal. As you just suggested, that there are a lot of repercussions what's happening on the other side in this part of India. She said that this is an issue that has to be dealt with by the government of India, and it's between the government of Bangladesh and government of India, and she respects that, and she will take all necessary steps according to the instructions and directions from the government of India. So a very measured, calibrated statement coming in from West Bengal Chief Minister, because Shiv, you would remember
Yes.
just on 21st of July, a few days back, when Mamata Banerjee was addressing a party rally, she did speak out on the situation in Bangladesh. That had triggered a diplomatic row between the Bangladesh government and the Indian government, with the Bangladesh government registering a formal, complaint against Mamata Banerjee's statement. This time, it's very calibrated. She hasn't gone on record saying much. She said that she's waiting for the directions of the government of India to take further steps, and she has appealed for peace and calm on this part of the country.
Okay, so the impact on West Bengal cannot be ignored. Larger issues of national security obviously also cannot be ignored, though a reassuring word there from General Satish Dua about sovereignty and integrity issues will be taken care of by the army and the border security force. So that's not an immediate concern, but the porous border between Bangladesh and India will have to be watched very, very closely. I want to quickly update our viewers. I'll get a reporter from the outside near the Delhi airport also very shortly. The aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina will be landing in just a few minutes from now in the national capital. A C-130 aircraft of the Bangladesh Air Force carrying Sheikh Hasina is about to land in the national capital of India. Remember that this takes a great deal of political significance and diplomatic significance, because Sheikh Hasina is not only a friend of India, but has been targeted within Bangladesh as being an India agent. So very interestingly, and I'll put pictures of that aircraft on your screen in just a moment, Sheikh Hasina has decided not to stay on in India. She'll be landing here. It's a refueling stop. We don't know who she will be meeting, but it stands to reason that there must be some kind of interaction on the ground once she lands, and then she will be taking a flight possibly to London, is what we are given to understand at this point of time. The Indian government obviously not revealing very much right now officially. The only thing we can confirm is that the security agencies are all on high alert. Indian aircraft have been kept on standby, for any emergent situation. The Indian diplomatic machinery is also in high gear. Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister, is monitoring all of these developments very, very closely. This is literally playing out in real time. An aircraft carrying the hounded out Prime Minister of India's neighbor Bangladesh is about to land. She was practically chased out of Bangladesh, and she is about to land in the national capital. Well, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has just spoken out. She's issued a statement on the implosion in Bangladesh and has appealed for peace. She said the government of India will decide on how to approach this issue, and has appealed to leaders of all political parties to refrain from making provocative comments that may disrupt peace in Bengal or the country. Mamata Banerjee has also said some BJP leaders have already commented on it. It should not be done. So the politics has already begun over the crisis in Bangladesh. That's the latest that we're getting to you right now. Remember, Sheikh Hasina in an aircraft very much like the one you see in these pictures, the C-130J of the Bangladesh Air Force, will be landing very, very shortly in the national capital. Who's going to meet Sheikh Hasina? How long she will be here remains a mystery. We don't know just yet. We'll get you those live updates as soon as she touches down in the national capital. Gaurav, any light you can throw on both those questions? How long Sheikh Hasina will be in Delhi, and if she's going to be meeting anyone while she's here?
Shiv, not as yet, because there is no official comment coming from either the government or even sources at this point of time are keeping their cards very close to their chest. They will perhaps understand whoever is her interlocutor, because remember, she is a head of state or a former head of government. So when she comes in, there would be an interaction at Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport, the Palam technical area, as a military aircraft comes in, and then how long she stays here remains to be seen. But from what information, bits of information we've been able to pick out is she will not be staying in India for long. Perhaps then catch a connecting flight whenever that is and move on to Europe. Like you and I were discussing, Shiv, India would want to be at least seen to be impartial at this stage, given the emotions that are running very high in Bangladesh, given the fact that Bangladesh wasn't safe for Sheikh Hasina and then she had to flee. India would want to ensure that the situation does not spiral out of control, or that India is looked at as an impartial neighbor in this condition, despite the close proximity with Sheikh Hasina and her government. India's foreign policy constantly has been whichever is the government in power in our neighboring countries, be it Maldives or Sri Lanka or Nepal or Bangladesh or other countries around. India interacts with the government in power and leaves it to the people in that country to decide who they would want to lead them. Once that decision is taken by the people in those countries, Government of India then establishes contact with them at an official level, though diplomats constantly stay in touch and political leaders always stay in touch, whether it's the government in power or the opposition. So now, as far as India is concerned, it's a wait and watch policy, but it was very important to ensure that Sheikh Hasina is not in harm's way, and she was out of harm's way and in India as early as possible, because her security and her well-being was under threat in Bangladesh.
Want to stay with me? The aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina is set to land at Delhi's Palam airport very, very shortly. Ashutosh Mishra is at the Palam VIP airport in Delhi, where the aircraft is set to touch down shortly. Ashu, what's the update? How long before touchdown?
What it could take, Shiv, nearly around 45 minutes. But the question is whether Sheikh Hasina gonna come out, stay in India, or the further, as there are reports that she is likely to fly further out to London. In that case, whether the protocol, as per protocol, whether the immigration process is required, either is it going to be the same Hercules plane C-130 that will be escorting her to London, or she gonna take commercial flight? I mean, even in fact touch with some civilian airlines, and so far there is no booking in the name of Sheikh Hasina and her sister, whether it is Air India, whether it is British Airways or some other airlines. So far we'll have to see what steps she's going to take further. But for now, remember that Palam technical area, there are also arrangements for the immigration just in case Sheikh Hasina decides to step out, take some time in India, spend some time in India, or even issue a statement. Remember, she was about to issue a statement before leaving Dhaka, but that was in a haste when army said that you have barely 3 hours to leave the country. So clearly, what she gonna do next, no one knows. As per reports, she is about to fly to London, and accordingly, all the arrangements will be made as she desires, and probably her team would have made. But for now, all eyes here at the Palam airport. Of course, all the arrangements that are being done by administratively by the security agencies, we may not get to know. But very interestingly, the flight that were being tracked from Dhaka, from Bangladesh all the way to Delhi, right after Lucknow, all of a sudden on the the commercial radar scanner, all of a sudden it just disappeared. But very interestingly, Shiv, besides this flight routine, what I see exactly deja vu. Just 2 years back, what I saw exactly in Sri Lanka, it was the month of August, similar almost chaos on the street, and then we had seen one Prime Minister resigning, and then he was also forced to leave Sri Lanka. Just 2 years later, exactly the month of August, again what we see, what is happening in another neighborhood, which is Bangladesh. Shiv.
Ashu, one more quick question. Is there any movement from the Indian government side? Is anyone going to be meeting the ex-Bangladesh Prime Minister at the Palam technical area? Do we know that?
Well, in that case, Shiv, if there are, protocol arrangements need to be made, then probably it could be happening from the VIP Terminal 3 area. But for now, I haven't seen any such movement happening, because now she is no more a Prime Minister. Now, whether in what capacity the government or the leadership or even the authorities as per protocol will be meeting, that is yet to be known. But for now, right outside to here, at least in last 1 hour, I haven't seen any such movement, which probably indicates that there will be some official meeting. However, since this is being a defense side of the technical Air Force station, if these arrangements are also being made, could be made confidential.
Okay, stay with me, Ashu, because Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, who's been hounded out of her country under literally fear of physical harm, is someone who's been painted by her enemies in Bangladesh as an India agent. The truth is, she's been a very, very good friend of India. Her father, Mujibur Rahman, was the founder and liberator of Bangladesh after the 1971 war. But who is Sheikh Hasina and why has she been chased out of her country, a democratically elected Prime Minister? Take a look.
Bangladesh's five-time Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fleeing from her homeland, forced to leave and violent protest in her country. Sheikh Hasina has faced massive protest over the controversial quota system that has snowballed into a Quit Hasina movement. Hasina has now resigned and fled from Dhaka, an abrupt and controversial end to her rule in Bangladesh. The 76-year-old first became Prime Minister in 1996 and served for a term till 2001. She was re-elected to office in 2009, serving 5 terms overall. Back in 1996, as the Awami League leader, Hasina led a coalition government since they fell 5 seats short of a majority. But after 2001, when she lost the election, she faced turbulent times, even being banned in 2007 from entering Bangladesh amid a state of emergency. She defied the ban and touched down in Dhaka from UK to be immediately arrested. The support for Hasina was enormous by now, and in 2009, she was sworn in again as Prime Minister, ending 2 years of rule by an army-backed interim government. Her third term as Prime Minister was controversial as Hasina was accused of winning a not-so-fair election in 2013. Hasina's party rolled into victory in an election that was boycotted by the main opposition party and was marred by deadly unrest. It was in her third term that Hasina garnered international praise for sheltering Rohingya refugees from Myanmar.
We want that they should put more pressure to Myanmar government so that they take them back.
In 2019, Prime Minister Hasina returned to power when her Awami League won 288 of the 300 parliamentary seats. But again, an election that faced endless scrutiny for not providing a level playing ground for the opposition. And earlier this year, Hasina returned for her 4th consecutive term, her 5th term overall as Prime Minister of Bangladesh that has now come to an end abruptly. Hasina chose to so far call the protest as motivated, but now has been forced to bow down to their demands.
When arson terrorism started, the protesting students said they were not involved in it. And we condemn it. We do not want it. When they pulled off from the protest, I deployed the army only then. I did not do it before that. Many want to tell me about deploying the army against the students. I was involved in student politics starting from Dhaka University. I know what the army could do.
In the past 15 years, Hasina has been credited with turning around Bangladesh's economy while winning international praise for sheltering Rohingya Muslims and turning around India-Bangladesh ties. But for now, it looks like it's the end of the road for the 5-time Prime Minister. Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, breaking news coming in. Sheikh Hasina, the outgoing Prime Minister of Bangladesh, has just landed at the Hindon Air Force Station on the outskirts of Delhi. The Hindon Air Force Station is an airbase in Uttar Pradesh in the Ghaziabad suburbs of India's national capital. So this is very close to Delhi. Senior IAF officials have received Sheikh Hasina, who has landed at the Hindon Air Base on Delhi's outskirts in Ghaziabad. Senior Indian Air Force officials have received her. The Hindon Air Base is where the Indian Air Force has squadrons of a C-17 and C-130 aircraft, and it is in a C-130 aircraft that Sheikh Hasina has landed at the Hindon Air Base. We are going to get a visual on this very, very shortly. Gaurav with more. Gaurav, it was expected that she would land in Delhi, but Sheikh Hasina in her C-130, not surprisingly, has landed at the Hindon Air Force Station, which is an Indian Air Force base, and she's just been received there by Indian Air Force officials, Gaurav.
Shiv, this is a very interesting development, and we still have to wait and understand, what government's official thinking on this is, that it hasn't landed at Palam Technical Airport, where, usually heads of state and governments land, but then that is when they're on an official visit and not running to save their lives in their respective countries. And she'd already resigned, so she isn't technically, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She's former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, having put in her papers, having fled to that helipad, taken that chopper to a military airbase, taken a military flight, and then landed, we are told now, at Hindon Air Base, where the Hindon base commander and other officers have received her, which would well indicate that perhaps she would be refueled, her aircraft would be refueled, whether that aircraft heads back to Dhaka, and whether then she takes a flight whether she goes to the international airport, takes a commercial flight, or takes a private jet to another country. Because what sources in the government very categorically told us is that she will not be staying in India. She was fleeing for her life. She was fleeing to safety, where moments after she left her country, there was a mob that entered her residence, and now she's come to India, and it's India's responsibility to give her refuel, help, whatever help required. Then she goes to a final destination. Whether that destination is England or Finland remains to be seen. Whether it's a commercial flight or a private jet, that information not yet in public domain. We should hopefully know shortly from now. But Hindon, as you very rightly pointed out, is an Indian Air Force base which has both the C-17s, long-haul heavy lift transport aircraft, and the C-130J Hercules aircraft of the Indian Air Force, the tactical transport aircraft of the Indian Air Force, and also aircraft that are used by our special forces. So if that aircraft requires fuel, if that requires any other assistance, perhaps Hindon is the best place for it. But for her, she's not the head of state or government. So she's been given, she would be received by officials, and what happens next, we shall know shortly. But interesting that it's not Palam Technical Area in Delhi, and that it's Hindon Air Base.
Excellent context given by Gaurav there, because Sheikh Hasina is no longer the sitting Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She is literally a former Prime Minister who's been chased out of her country, and even though she is a friend of India, she hasn't landed at the expected Delhi VIP Palam Technical Area for foreign dignitaries, but has landed at the Hindon Air Base, which is on the outskirts of Delhi. It technically falls in Uttar Pradesh. Shivani Sharma, our defense correspondent, is live with us as well. She, as you can see, is en route to the Hindon base. What are you hearing from Hindon, Shivani? The base commander and other Air Force officials are said to have received Sheikh Hasina at Hindon.
See, Shiv and Gaurav, while Sheikh Hasina has just landed at Hindon Airport, there were already arrangements. That's what the sources have been telling us. See, nothing is official now because of the situation and the diplomatic stand by India. But what we have been told by our sources, that Sheikh Hasina has landed at Hindon Air Base at 5:36 p.m. Her aircraft C-130J Super Hercules was given a priority landing in spite of the traffic at this airbase. And the officials were already present there. The CNC and the other officials of the airbase, the senior officials of the airbase of the Indian Air Force were already present there to see whether everything goes as per plan. But the only thing is, Shiv and Gaurav, that nothing has been confirmed officially due to the nature of this escape that Sheikh Hasina has been given. Because what we have also learned from the sources that the Bangladesh Air Force's Mi-17 chopper that rescued her, in fact, from her place, and it left her at Indian border from where she took C-130J. And this C-130J Super Hercules is it has already landed here at Hindon Air Base. We are heading there. We are trying for pictures if we get lucky to get them pictures, because it's a sensitive route that Sheikh Hasina has taken, and nothing has been confirmed. But the sources have also told us that she will not be staying in India for long. She might take a flight to London. She can go to Finland. All depends on how it has been planned by Sheikh Hasina and her journey, and all is there in a likelihood speculation, because nothing has been confirmed. But what the sources have told us, that Sheikh Hasina has already landed at Hindon, Ghaziabad, and Hindon all the more because it was a safer place. If we talk about Palam, there were some international flights that were already there at Palam because of the exercise that has to begin tomorrow in India, Tarang Shakti, the biggest ever multinational exercise of the Indian Air Force. So Sheikh Hasina chose to land here at Hindon. It was a safer place for her to land, and she has been well received by the officials here. And now we have to see where she heads to, which is the place, whether she'll be staying here for a night or whether she'll start her journey abroad. We have to wait for.
This is actually really interesting. Shivani, stay with me. I want to bring Gaurav in on this as well. Gaurav, like you said, the choice of Hindon for this landing is super interesting, because it also raises the question over whether Sheikh Hasina plans to stay on in the national capital for a while or depart instantly. And if she chooses to depart instantly, what aircraft is she going to take? Because Hindon is an Air Force base. There are no civil aircrafts operating there. I don't think the C-130 that she is in is going to ferry her to London from Hindon. So that's also an unanswered question now.
As of now, it certainly is, Shiv, perhaps a private jet, in case she's taking a private jet, may get permission to land at Hindon and ferry her there. Hindon, of course, has excellent facilities for her to rest and relax for some time. Of course, after fleeing her country and the circumstances in which she fled her country, I'm not sure how much time is she spending in India, or who she expects to interact with in India, and whether there are officials who may have gone to Hindon to interact with her. So we still do not know answers to some of these questions. By and by, information will filter in for us to form a bigger picture and a better picture of what's happening. But the fact that she's at Hindon is a message that goes out from India, that she's the Prime Minister who was in distress, who fled her country to save her life. She's been given shelter in India for now. Her aircraft refuels, whether that aircraft goes back to Dhaka or flies her to another location, because you're absolutely right, for a Bangladesh military aircraft to fly over multiple countries to get her to UK. As you well know, military aircraft require a whole lot of different set of clearances, especially when there's a former head of state in those aircraft. So we do not know answers to some of those questions at this stage. But remains to be seen. She's out of harm's way as of now. How long she stays in India, who she interacts with India, are questions we are seeking answers to, and whether she goes to UK or Finland immediately on board a private jet, or goes someplace else and then takes a jet to UK. These are questions we hope to have answers to in the next several hours, Shiv.
Gaurav and Shivani, continue to stay with me. Our coverage continues. I'm going to take a very short break. On the other side, I guarantee we're going to have the first pictures from the Hindon base of Sheikh Hasina's arrival. The Hindon base is an Air Force station right on the outskirts of Delhi in Uttar Pradesh, and that is where she has landed. This is the latest twist in the exit of Sheikh Hasina from an imploding Bangladesh. First pictures from the Hindon base with Akshita right on the other side of this. Stay with us.
around to say hello. One, I'm so fly. You took a nosedive. Careful when you play on my level. For you, it's so. Hey, hello.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Flip the script.
Hello, Moto.
The grandest stage.
The ultimate challenge.
Where dreams are made.
And legends are born.
The pinnacle of sportsmanship. Where new heroes will rise and old records will fall.
As the Olympic journey begins, our nation unites in a single resounding cheer. Go India! Go for glory!
Go India. Go for glory. Only on India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 29 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 33 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 30 and minimum 23 degrees.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. People in this country have a right to be safe. And yet, we've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, other minority communities singled out, Nazi salutes in the street, attacks on the police, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric. So no, I won't shy away from calling it what it is, far-right thuggery.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 29 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 33 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 30 and minimum 23 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Co-powered by Niva Bupa Health Insurance, Sensodyne Daily Sensitivity Protection, LIC जिंदगी के साथ भी जिंदगी के बाद भी.
Massive crisis unfolds in Bangladesh. India's neighbor faces political crisis. Sheikh Hasina resigns, flees Dhaka. Bangladesh army now calls the shots.
আপনাদের জানমাল এবং আপনাদেরকে আমি কথা দিচ্ছি
Protesters biryani party at Prime Minister's palace. Bangladesh crisis. Top focus on 6 p.m. Prime. Bangladesh crisis. Top focus on 6 p.m. Prime.
Turmoil triggered hours ago by Sheikh Hasina stepping down as the Prime Minister and fleeing from Dhaka. She's just touched down in the national capital, touched down in Delhi. We'll be getting you all of the live updates and what really all of these developments mean for India. Let's begin with the headlines. Bangladesh in turmoil. Sheikh Hasina quits as Prime Minister, flees Dhaka, lands at the Hindon Air Base near Delhi, may head to London next. Protesters lay siege to Bangladesh PM residence. Looting and rioting breaks out. Bangladesh army to form interim government. Big Waqf reform as centre is set to overhaul the Waqf Act to limit its powers. Waqf may lose power to claim any land and may have women as well as members. Ayodhya gang rape shocker. Minor girl allegedly gang raped by Samajwadi Party Neta and accomplice Akhilesh Yadav cries foul. BJP delegation meets the victim's family. Big setback for Aam Aadmi Party. Top court says Delhi LG can appoint MCD. Alderman says the LG need not act as per the state government's advice. And Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin breaks silence on Udayanidhi's promotion as Deputy CM, says chances are strong, but the time isn't ripe yet for his son. And let's begin with getting you the latest updates on the Bangladesh crisis. Sheikh Hasina, who fled from Dhaka along with her sister Sheikh Rahana, has now touched down in Delhi, landing at the Hindon Air Base. Sources telling us that senior IAF officials have received Sheikh Hasina at the Hindon Air Base. She's touched down near Delhi. In all likelihood, she's going to be making her way to London as well. Senior IAF officials receiving Sheikh Hasina. All right, let's get you, in fact, more details now on this. Geeta Mohan is joining us with more. Geeta, a brief stopover in India, we understand?
Well, that's right. That's what we're given to understand. It's a stopover. There is going to be conversation with the Indian administration, and then she will be leaving for London, is what we're given to understand. We'll have to wait and see how that really pans out in terms of a decision to go and where she's headed next. But certainly the fact that she is in New Delhi and that New Delhi is engaging Sheikh Hasina, the importance that India and New Delhi attaches to the Awami League and Awami League's administration in Bangladesh, which had really helped stabilize the situation between India and Bangladesh, especially at the borders for the past 15 years. And now those
those years are over, those days are gone. So Indian administration will have to look at how they're going to engage the government, the interim administration, the army within Bangladesh, because it is imperative that Bangladesh remain stable and secure for India and for the bordering states of India to also remain stable, safe and secure. So a lot is at stake for India, and India certainly considers Sheikh Hasina. Prime Minister Modi himself considers Sheikh Hasina a friend, a partner. And so at a time such as this, she is going to meet with some of the officials, higher officials here in India. We don't have details of who they're really going to be, but expects high-level officials from MEA and from the security agencies to meet her to discuss and assess the situation, after which she'll be headed most probably to London.
Geeta, just stay with us. The information we're getting is that senior IAF officials were present at the Hindon Air Base to welcome Sheikh Hasina and to escort her. She landed at about 5:36 p.m. We're waiting for pictures from the Hindon Air Base of Sheikh Hasina there, touching down near the national capital. Let me bring in Shiv Aroor also on this broadcast. Shiv, in all likelihood, this is just a brief stopover. There's a lot of speculation that this could have been for refueling, but from Dhaka to Delhi, barely any distance, not really necessary, especially considering that she's traveling in a C-130J Hercules. So clearly, this is a strategic decision taken to stop in Delhi.
Absolutely. The variety of reasons for this stopover in India's national capital, Akshita. Number one, this landing in Hindon presents itself as a new twist, because so far it was expected that she would land at the VIP terminal in Delhi, which is the Palam Technical Area Airport, which is where all dignitaries land. But like we've been reporting, the possibility of a change was likely because she is no longer head of state of Bangladesh. She's now an ex-head of state. That may have been part of it. There may have been some technical reasons as well, because the Palam Technical Area, as we have been reporting, is a little crowded right now. There are a lot of incoming aircraft, military aircraft from different European countries here to participate in the Tarang Shakti multinational exercise that kicks off on August the 6th, which is tomorrow. That may have been a part of it, and therefore the aircraft may have been asked to land at the Hindon Air Force Station. Three, the diplomatic reasons. Possible that India does not want to be seen to be, welcoming Sheikh Hasina to the national capital at the VIP terminal, extending VIP protocols to Sheikh Hasina despite her good relations with India, and wants to, play that safe. And the fourth aspect is that the Hindon Air Force Station is, if you look at it geographically, it's as good as landing in Delhi, because it is very close to Delhi. It's on Delhi suburbs in Uttar Pradesh. This is where the Indian Air Force's own C-130J aircraft, the very same aircraft that Sheikh Hasina has landed in, are also stationed there as part of the number 77 squadron. That may be also a part of it. The interesting questions now that remain, Akshita, are where is she when is she going to leave from here and how? Our understanding is she isn't going to be an Indian guest for very long, which would mean that some kind of a chartered aircraft, a private chartered aircraft, would need to pick up Sheikh Hasina and her sister and her team, whoever is there. We still don't know how big that team is, and then ferry them straight to London. What appears clear is that the C-130J aircraft that brought her to Hindon cannot be taking that flight from Delhi to London. That's a much more complicated affair.
Okay, all right. Let me bring in Geeta once again on this. Geeta, is there any possibility at all of Sheikh Hasina actually camping in India, or is it a given that she's going to be heading out to London? What does it really mean for India if we actually provide that kind of provision for Sheikh Hasina to remain in the country?
Well, diplomatically and politically at this juncture, it might not deem fit for India to host Sheikh Hasina at this point, at this juncture. Things are really volatile just across the border, and India would like to play a role or a part where it is one that is a facilitating force rather than one that could be more debilitating. Having Sheikh Hasina here certainly might not be an option for a longer haul. We do know that in the past, when things were very bad with the Bangladeshi administration. There were family members of Awami League political party members who did come and stay in India. But for somebody like Sheikh Hasina to stay on, I don't think is not just an option, but is not something that they are considering at this point in time. And I'm not saying the Indian side, even the Bangladeshi side. In all probability, she will be here for a while. There will be conversations, and then she'll move to London, which is where they were during their time in exile in the past as well.
Okay, Geeta, just stay with me. I want to bring in Shivani Sharma, who's reporting now from the Hindon Air Base, which is where Sheikh Hasina has touched down. Shivani, good evening. What's happening there? Has Sheikh Hasina left from the air base? Any idea where she's headed?
See, we are right now at Hindon Air Base, where Sheikh Hasina has landed at 5:36 p.m. She has not yet started from here. We are still awaiting more updates, but what we can tell our viewers that Sheikh Hasina landed here in her C-130J Super Hercules aircraft that was given a priority landing at the Indian Air Base despite all the busy traffic out here. We are right now standing outside. This has been a very sensitive movement, a sensitive escape for Sheikh Hasina, and that's why we are not being allowed closer to this area. But we are getting all the information. So there are possibilities. Nothing is being shared as of now officially because of the nature of the situation. So what we can also tell our viewers that there are possibilities she might fly today itself to her further destination. That can be London, that can be Finland or any other place, because we don't know where she's heading to. Only speculations are going on. All is on the likelihood. And the other thing is, even if she stays in India, she would not stay for a longer time. That has also been confirmed to the India Today by the official sources. They say that she's not been given a long stay in India as of now because of the nature of the situation, the diplomatic situation and the security reasons too.
Shivani, I'm just going to come back to you. We're getting in more updates of the protocol that was followed when Sheikh Hasina actually touched down in India. Sheikh Hasina was received by the Hindon base commander, Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra. Senior IAF officials, as we told you first here on India Today, were there at the Hindon Air Base to receive Sheikh Hasina. The confirmation coming in that Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra, who's the Hindon base commander, was there to personally receive Sheikh Hasina. I want to bring in Shiv on this for more. Shiv, can you break that down for us? What really does this mean? The fact that Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra was there to receive Hasina, is this part of protocol?
This is part of protocol. The base commander, who is basically the air officer commanding of the Hindon Air Base, is the senior-most officer on site, Akshita, and it stands to protocol that he would have received Sheikh Hasina. She is a VIP dignitary, even though she is a former Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Remember that these things don't happen just by themselves. All of this would have been coordinated at the highest levels of the Indian government, the External Affairs Ministry, the intelligence agencies, and the military, the defense headquarters, the Ministry of Defense, etc. So the highest level of available protocol on site would be Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra, who is the base commander, or what is called the AOC Hindon, Air Officer Commanding in Hindon. He would have received her. We understand that arrangements are now being made at the Hindon Air Force Station for Sheikh Hasina's onward journey now from Hindon to London. It will be a direct flight from Hindon to London. Some kind of a private charter will be arranged. Still very unclear when that's going to happen, or if it has already begun to happen. We do know that the C-130J of the Bangladesh Air Force, which has landed at Hindon, is currently parked in a hangar along with the Indian Air Force's C-130Js, which are also based at Hindon. So it's going to be interesting to see how things actually pan out now. It appears that the very fact that Hindon was chosen for this landing and military protocol on site has been extended to the beleaguered Bangladesh Prime Minister means that the Indian government does not want to either get involved or seem to be directly involved in the arrival or for this stopover of the fleeing Bangladesh Prime Minister.
What's clear also, Shiv, is that India is not completely isolated we're helping, we're giving a helping hand perhaps, but not also to the extent of giving Sheikh Hasina shelter in India. In all likelihood, she's going to be leaving from Delhi and heading to London. Don't know just how long her stay in India is going to be, or for that matter, who will she be meeting. But there's no doubt that there will be a series of important meetings lined up, huddles that Sheikh Hasina will be a part of. For all of these dramatic developments happening just hours after Sheikh Hasina resigned in a rather dramatic development and fled from Dhaka along with her sister Sheikh Hasina. She's resigned after weeks of unrest, weeks of protests led by a student group in Bangladesh. And this was over a decision taken by the Hasina government of bringing in reservation quota in the job system. That's what triggered this entire showdown. But since then, we've seen protesters taking to the streets of Dhaka, even taking over the Prime Minister's palace, going ahead and lying in Sheikh Hasina's bed, stealing utensils, stealing memorabilia. Let's round up for you all the updates that have come in the last few hours. Bangladesh all set for an interim government led by the army now.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina leaving the capital Dhaka in the face of mass protest, demanding her resignation. Sources say Hasina left Ganabhavan, her official residence, with her sister Rehana for a safer place in Mi-17 chopper. Hasina first flew to Kurmitola and then took a Bangladesh Air Force C-130J Hercules to fly out of Bangladesh. Moments after, celebrations erupted on the streets of Dhaka. Protesters vandalized the statue of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founder of Bangladesh and Sheikh Hasina's father. A huge crowd even stormed the Prime Minister's residence. They walked through the grounds of Sheikh Hasina's residence, boating through ponds and water bodies, cheered with chairs and other furniture, chilled on the bed, looted memorabilia and utensils, and hugged men in uniform. Army Chief General Waqiruzzman announced in a televised address that with Hasina leaving the country, an interim government would be formed.
আমরা এখন মহামান্য রাষ্ট্রপতির কাছে যাব যে এই ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্মের ব্যাপারে ওনার সাথে আলাপ আলোচনা করে আমরা একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করে দেশ পরিচালনা করব।
Student activists had called for a march to the capital Dhaka on Monday in defiance of a nationwide curfew to press Hasina to resign. A day after deadly clashes across the country killed nearly 100 people. About 150 people have been killed in protests last month, after student groups demanded scrapping of a controversial quota system in government jobs. Bureau Report, India Today.
And news coming in of how our forces were actually tracking very, very closely Sheikh Hasina's flight movement. Fighter aircraft from an eastern airbase were airborne soon after the Bangladeshi C-130 aircraft entered Indian airspace and then kept an eye on it for quite some time. The Indian Air Force, and sources are telling us that the Indian Air Force and Army were prepared to meet any contingency. This is expected, this is normal when our neighbour is plunged in this kind of a political crisis and the outgoing Prime Minister is moving over Indian airspace. It is expected that our forces will keep a close track of the flight's movement as well. Shiv fighter aircraft were airborne soon after their aircraft entered into Indian airspace. Like I said, largely protocol, expected really that our forces will very closely track the developments because of the crisis that Bangladesh has been plunged into.
Akshita, given what was going on in Bangladesh, given the abruptness with which Sheikh Hasina needed to get into a helicopter, then hop onto a plane and then make her way into India, I'm not surprised at all that the Indian Air Force had jets in the air. They had birds in the air because this was obviously an unfolding volatile situation where all possibilities needed to be taken into account. Remember, when a military aircraft especially travels from another country into India, or for that reason anywhere, lots of clearances need to be taken. Usually such transits require a great deal of clearances. It takes a bit of paperwork that doesn't happen in a few minutes. And therefore, this kind of unplanned dash by a sensitive individual, someone like a beleaguered Prime Minister, making a dash, really an escape from Bangladesh, to a safe haven like India, would have happened very, very quickly, giving the Air Force very little time to react. And the Air Force, after all, is a military. Acting quickly, reacting quickly, being prepared for all contingencies is precisely what it is trained for. And that's the reason why, as we're hearing, the Indian Air Force would have had a handful of fighter aircraft from some of its eastern air bases airborne, keeping an eye on the C-130. I imagine that the Indian Air Force would have had jets all through the transit routes, all the way from once the aircraft entered Indian airspace until it landed in Hindon. The fighters wouldn't have been escorting Sheikh Hasina's plane, but they would have been in the same airspace, keeping an eye on the plane and making sure that everything went right.
Just on that, Shiv, the clarification that you gave about this not being an escort for Sheikh Hasina, this protocol is not followed to protect Sheikh Hasina in any way. This was being done because her flight was over Indian airspace, yes?
That is correct. A fighter escort for an aircraft, is a very high level of protocol. That's either, something that is ceremonial, or if there is an imminent and defined threat to an aircraft. In Indian airspace, there is no real perceived threat to an aircraft as such, like either a hijacking or any other kind of threat. So therefore, the protocol would have been, just to keep those birds in the air in case some kind of a contingency requires a fighter intervention. So that's the kind of protocol that would have been extended, not the kind of high-level escort you would normally see either ceremonially or tactically in many countries. India has provided fighter escorts for aircraft in the past, but these have largely been, ceremonial or operational in nature. This particular one would have just been to tick all the boxes and make sure everything went right.
Especially keeping in mind how last minute really these developments were. Like Shiv pointed out, there's usually a lot of paperwork involved in these kind of situations to have a leader fly over Indian airspace. Considering the situation that's currently in Bangladesh and the last minute chaos, this would have been a last minute approval also taken from Indian authorities, which is why that protocol was followed. But let's focus on what's happening right now in Bangladesh. Absolutely shocking images coming in of the vandalism, rioting on the streets of Dhaka, and even at the Prime Minister's palace that's now been taken over by a sea of protesters who are on a looting spree. Here are some of those images as angry protesters in Bangladesh stormed the Prime Minister's residence just moments after Sheikh Hasina fled the country. The mob was seen vandalizing, going room to room, stealing memorabilia, utensils, meat, you name it, they were taking it. The mob was seen stealing Hasina's belongings. A woman seen carrying bundles of what seems to be saris from the house. A man was also seen lying on the outgoing Prime Minister's bed and showing the victory signs with his shoes on. Protesters who barged into Sheikh Hasina's residence were seen boating in the ponds that was inside the property. A man was also seen carrying with him a whole fish in his arms. Now, a huge mob also vandalized the dining hall inside the Prime Minister's palace in Dhaka. A man even recorded himself relishing chicken biryani with other protesters in the palace. And then there are these pictures from Sheikh Hasina's office in the same property where protesters were seen going through papers, stealing documents, ransacking essentially the entire office. So what exactly has triggered this all-out crisis in Bangladesh? It's essentially been on the boil, brewing for the last many weeks, and now has culminated with Sheikh Hasina having to flee out of Dhaka and stepping down as the Prime Minister. So what exactly led to this unrest? There was a demand, a growing one, to remove quota in civil services that was announced by the Sheikh Hasina government. 32 million youngsters in Bangladesh are currently unemployed. They were angry. They were, in fact, warning the government, saying, do not bring this quota at a time when we don't have jobs. The government, however, refused to go ahead and roll back the quota system. Instead, you had Sheikh Hasina constantly targeting these protesters, saying that these were unruly elements and not students. These were unruly elements pretending to be students, continuing with the protest. There was clearly a problem with the economy that was going downhill in Bangladesh. There were high inflation rates, and all of this only triggered a further crisis and further anger in Bangladesh. And now that's what's led to the army taking over and Sheikh Hasina leaving. I want to bring in Shivani Sharma for a quick update as she joins us from the Hindon Air Base. We still don't know yet, Shivani, if Sheikh Hasina will be exiting from the airbase, if she's going to be making her way into the national capital, perhaps meeting some dignitaries, how long her stay is. So for now, confirm for us, she's still in the airbase.
My sources have confirmed this, that Sheikh Hasina, the former PM of Bangladesh, is still in Hindon Air Base, and the aircraft that carried her is still here at Hindon. It has not gone back, and it will not go back until Sheikh Hasina plans her further journey. That's also what we've been told. So a shelter will be secured for her. Whether she'll be moving out of the Hindon Air Base or she'll be staying here for and wait for the further flight that will take her to her further destination, that also is awaited. But as of now, what we know is it's been 50 minutes or so, and she landed here at 5:36 p.m. She stays here. She is inside the Hindon Air Base, not in the craft. She has deboarded the craft. The craft is empty right now, but it has not flown back. It is still here, and it will be here. And the flight plan for this particular flight has not been filed, because this is a sensitive aircraft, sensitive journey that Sheikh Hasina is taking. So remember, when it was also being shown on the radar, after a certain time, the coordinates were not visible of this aircraft. We are right now outside the Indian Air Base. We are trying to take any kind of unusual movement if it happens, but we cannot go closer to the air base because of the security reasons. This is a super secure escape plan that was done for Sheikh Hasina, the former PM, and from here she might go to London, she might go to Finland. We do not know. Nothing has come officially, but yes, the sources from the government have confirmed this, that she'll not be staying. If she stays
in all
here,
likelihood,
she
we're
will not be
hearing
staying
London.
for a longer
And right now, preparations are underway for her to travel in a chartered plane, because it's virtually impossible for her to take that Super Hercules all the way to London. It will require multiple clearances, which is something that she's not been able to do because, of course, of the last-minute decision that was taken for her to be shifted out of Dhaka. Shivani, we're going to keep coming across to you, but as we track all the updates, and we're putting out really details of the flight path that in all likelihood Sheikh Hasina will take, she is going to be moving to London is what we're hearing. The question is when and how. At this point, what we're hearing is that she's going to be based in Delhi briefly while arrangements are being made for her next course of travel. But let's break down for you what really this means for India. The fact that you have this all-out political crisis in our neighborhood. First of all, Sheikh Hasina stepping down as Prime Minister of Bangladesh doesn't really augur well for India, because she was someone who was always pro-India. We've seen a huge growth, a huge surge in India-Bangladesh ties under Sheikh Hasina's leadership. And the opposition's anti-India campaign can find roots as well, which doesn't spell good news for India, considering that Bangladesh is our biggest trading partner and vice versa. Northeast border security is a huge concern. The BSF is deployed right now there, and they've confirmed that all steps necessary are being taken. There's no escalation as of now. Pakistan-Bangladesh cooperation likely to begin. The worry is that with the opposition now getting a big voice, a big say in Bangladesh and an interim army government, there's in all likelihood a chance of Bangladesh and Pakistan getting rather close over their similarities, and India as a result suffering because of that. what we've seen, and I highlighted this earlier as well, about how we've seen a huge surge between, in fact, India and Bangladesh ties in the last few years. Let's cut across to breaking news that's coming in right now. Sources telling us that External Affairs Minister S. Shankar has briefed Prime Minister Modi on the current situation in Bangladesh. There was a meeting that's taken place in Parliament where S. Shankar has briefed Prime Minister Modi on what's exactly taking place in Bangladesh. So the Modi government right now tracking very, very closely what's happening in Bangladesh and the fact that Sheikh Hasina has touched down in the country. There's no question of, in fact, Sheikh Hasina not having gotten approval. She'd have gotten the green signal from the government for her to touch down in Delhi. But now the information coming in is that the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Shankar, has met with Prime Minister Modi in Parliament and has given him a full debriefing on the current political situation in Bangladesh and no doubt what this means for India as well. Okay, let me bring in Shivani on this for more details. Shivani, we're hearing now that the External Affairs Minister has met with Prime Minister Modi, is briefing him on the current political situation in Bangladesh. So the Modi government very closely and rightly so tracking what's happening in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh being our immediate neighbor, it's quite important and very normal that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been briefed about the current situation that is happening in Bangladesh. Not only this, the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar has also briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi on how on the border security is maintained. The BSF is on a high alert, not only BSF, the borders that wherever army is deployed and the borders touch with Bangladesh, the BSF and all the security forces in that particular region are on a high alert, and any movements are being tracked because there is a porous border between India and Bangladesh, and anything along the borders, all the movements are being tracked, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been briefed about the current situation. Not only this, when we talk about the movement of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, that too is important here, because about that also it's quite certain it has happened in coordination with all the agencies, the External Affairs Ministry, the security forces, the Indian Air Force. So definitely when Dr. S. Shankar has briefed PM about the situation in Bangladesh, he must have also briefed him about the movement of former PM Sheikh Hasina, and we do not know, nothing has been shared officially as of now on the movement of former PM Sheikh Hasina, but she is still
to more breaking news. Shivani, stay with us. I'm cutting across to more breaking news coming in. First reaction from Sheikh Hasina's family. Her son has spoken out on social media, has lashed out at protesters for the crisis that's currently playing out in Bangladesh. Her Sheikh Hasina's son has taken to social media and said that there must be fresh elections in Bangladesh. Let's play out for you what he said on social media. Okay, we'll just get you that reaction. He has, in fact, lashed out at the protesters, saying that they kept increasing their demands. There was no question of reaching out to them, but also putting forth the demand for fresh elections. And there'll be a question about whether this is something that the Awami Party, which is what Sheikh Hasina belongs to, is the leader of that party, whether this will be the official position now.
Law enforcement agency, বিজিবি এবং কি আমাদের মিলিটারির প্রতি আমার আহ্বান যে আপনাদের দায়িত্ব হচ্ছে আমাদের দেশের মানুষকে নিরাপদ রাখা এবং আমাদের দেশকে নিরাপদ রাখা, আমাদের দেশের সংবিধানকে নিরাপদ রাখা, সংবিধানকে রক্ষা করা। তার মানে এক মিনিটের জন্য কোনো অনির্বাচিত সরকার আমাদের ক্ষমতায় আসতে দিবেন না। এটা হচ্ছে আপনাদের দায়িত্ব, কারণ সেইটা হলে আমরা আবার পাকিস্তানের মতন হয়ে যাব। আমাদের এই যে 15 বছরের উন্নয়ন সব শেষ হয়ে যাবে। বাংলাদেশ এর থেকে আর কোনোদিন ফিরে আসবে না। আমিও সেটা চাই না, আপনারাও সেটা চান না। আমি সজীব ওয়াজের জয় যতদিন আমার পক্ষে সম্ভব আমি সেটা হতে দেব না।
Okay, so that is the first reaction that's coming from Sheikh Hasina's son, who's crying conspiracy. I want to revisit what we also got here earlier about the big news break of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meeting with Prime Minister Modi in Parliament. Geeta Mohan, our Foreign Affairs editor, is joining us with more on that. Geeta, Dr. S. Jaishankar has now briefed Prime Minister Modi. The government will be very, very closely tracking all the updates that come in from Bangladesh, and perhaps we're expecting also a decision in all likelihood on how really the government will deal with this crisis. There's a lot of questions about whether they're going to overtly back Sheikh Hasina and what exactly will play out.
Well, that's right. The Ministry of External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, High Commissioner Pranay Verma in Dhaka, they were keeping a very close eye, and the mission in Dhaka has been constantly informing New Delhi of the situation on the ground. So for the External Affairs Minister now to brief Prime Minister Modi was just a part of protocol, given that former Prime Minister has landed in India. She's at the Hindon Air Base. We again will have to wait and see who's going to engage the former Prime Minister. And this again comes at a very critical juncture where the Prime Minister is being briefed on the situation, the fact that Sheikh Hasina is in India, and the fact that she in all probability will be leaving for her final destination, which in all probability would be London. So apart from the fact that this is what has happened so far, there's also an assessment that the Prime Minister would have wanted from the External Affairs Minister, as also from the security establishment. National Security Advisor Doval needs no meeting, works very closely with the Prime Minister's office and with the Prime Minister. All of them briefing the Prime Minister on the situation on the ground, what is it that's happening, the army takeover, and whether if there will be stability and normalcy that will be restored sooner than later.
All right, Geeta, request you to stay on with me as in fact we track all these big updates coming in and how India is going to be addressing this crisis that's playing out in our neighborhood in Bangladesh. Let's talk also about what this means for India. We explained to you how essentially Sheikh Hasina had a very pro-India strategy, and that was very clear in the last few years as India-Bangladesh ties have only strengthened since Sheikh Hasina came to power in 2009. Remember, she's a 5-time Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Prime Minister Modi and Sheikh Hasina have in fact worked relentlessly in the last few years and actually pushing the relations between the two nations. India's largest trading partner is Bangladesh. Bangladesh's largest trading partner is India.
As Bangladesh plunges into chaos after Sheikh Hasina's resignation as Prime Minister and her escape from Dhaka, India's border security force is on high alert. India, which shares over 4,000-kilometer land border with Bangladesh, had faced a lot of turbulence in its ties with Dhaka. The situation changed after Hasina took office as Bangladesh Prime Minister for a second time in 2009. The 76-year-old daughter of Bangladesh founder Sheikh Mujibur Rahman responded favorably towards India's desire to strengthen ties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Neighbourhood First policy also played a pivotal role in re-energizing the relationship. This first became evident when Prime Minister Modi visited Bangladesh in June 2015 and signed the long-pending land border agreement. Modi was among the first to congratulate Sheikh Hasina after she secured a new term in January this year. Hasina, however, faced accusations of overseeing a flawed election boycotted by the opposition. India is watching the situation in Bangladesh with caution. Bureau Report, India Today.
And it remains to be seen what exactly the fate of Bangladesh will be also, importantly, what it means for India. We're going to be tracking all the latest updates and big news breaks coming in from Bangladesh on the other side of a very, very short break. Stay with us here on 6 p.m. Prime.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Weather easing up now. Choppers are being used at the spot to help in bringing in some sort of relief aid and also bringing in personnel on ground.
This is a story of Samidas where he says that 3 of their family members are still missing.
It's really heartbreaking scenes. What we are seeing, some of the family members come here to receive the bodies. Priority right now is to rescue as well. There are many people still stuck and missing.
With video journalist Sachin Chandok, this is Akshita Nandagopal reporting from Wayanad for India Today.
Grounded in journalism, on the ground reporting. Only on India Today TV.
इस क्षेत्र में 36 के करीब लोग मिसिंग है और दूसरे क्षेत्र में जहां क्लाउड बस्ट हुआ 9 लोग मिसिंग है। इन सब का स्टडी कर रहे, 4 बॉडी को रिकवर कर लिया गया, 49 अभी भी मिसिंग है। तुरंत प्रभाव से हमने कपड़े वस्त्र खरीदने के लिए 50,000 रुपया देने का निर्देश दिया है। हमारा है कि ये हम सब लोगों को बसाएंगे भी। पिछली बार आपदा प्रभावित परिवारों के लिए जो हम पैकेज लेके आए, इस बार हम आपदा राहत प्रभावित परिवारों को आने वाले समय में जो ऐसी बरसात खत्म हुई पैकेज की घोषणा करेंगे।
Rioters have taken full control of Dhaka, it seems, after they stormed into the Prime Minister's palace in Dhaka. Images now coming in of the Bangladesh Parliament also under siege as protesters are now in the Bangladesh Parliament premises. There's absolute chaos and turmoil as we speak in Dhaka, as clearly rioters have taken over the streets of Dhaka. These are images on your screens of hundreds of protesters sitting where previously parliamentarians sat in Bangladesh. They're sitting on the chairs there, hundreds of them in the well of the house, screaming away. I can see also a bit of smoke there up in the air, and all of this playing out right now in Dhaka as Sheikh Hasina has just fled, in fact, from Dhaka hours ago. Since then, it's been absolute chaos and turmoil in the capital. Let's bring in Indrajit on this broadcast for more details. Indro, it's going from bad to worse right now. We saw images of the Prime Minister's palace taken over by these protesters. Similar scenes now in the parliament as well.
Well, absolute scenes of chaos from Dhaka and elsewhere, not just in Dhaka. these riots, arson being reported across other parts of Bangladesh as well. I've just got visuals coming in from Bangladesh. A police station at Kotwali police station set on fire in Chittagong. There are visuals coming in from clashes in Dhaka where dead bodies are being ferried in cycle rickshaws. As we just said, the visuals that we are showing of protesters inside the Parliament of Bangladesh. There were visuals of protesters inside Gano Bhavan, which is the official residence of the Prime Minister. There is no semblance of governance in Bangladesh and Dhaka right now. Ever since Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and she left Bangladesh, Bangladesh right now is immersed in chaos. The army, of course, has said that it's taking control, it's taking over, and it has said that the process has been initiated to form an interim government. But till such time an interim government is sworn in and they are put in place, it's anybody's guess as to who is running the country. The army, of course, trying to maintain law and order, but the civil administration is not there. So there are several, you can imagine the Prime Minister's office, Gano Bhavan, or the Parliament, the doors are open, people are walking freely inside, vandalizing. I'm hearing several offices being, set on fire by
there's a complete breakdown of law and order. Army's calling the shots, but doesn't seem to have any control of what's happening on the streets right now. Indrajit, thanks very much for joining us with all of those details. We're going to continue tracking all the images that are coming in from Dhaka, which has been plunged into absolute turmoil. These protesters running riot essentially on the streets of Dhaka. And you see multiple images that sum up right now for you where the story is at, what's happening in Bangladesh. As far as Sheikh Hasina goes, she's currently at the Hindon Air Base near Delhi. Questions over what next for her. In all likelihood, she's going to be flying off to London. But as a 5-time Prime Minister of Bangladesh, we take a look back at really what she's achieved, her controversies, from her rise to power back in 1996 to her controversial rule and now rather sudden and abrupt departure. I'm leaving you with this report on Sheikh Hasina and her tumultuous journey as a politician in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh's 5-time Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fleeing from her homeland, forced to leave and violent protest in her country. Sheikh Hasina has faced massive protest over the controversial quota system that has snowballed into a Quit Hasina movement. Hasina has now resigned and fled from Dhaka, an abrupt and controversial end to her rule in Bangladesh. The 76-year-old first became Prime Minister in 1996 and served for a term till 2001. She was re-elected to office in 2009, serving 5 terms overall. Back in 1996, as the Awami League leader, Hasina led a coalition government since they fell 5 seats short of a majority. But after 2001, when she lost the election, she faced turbulent times, even being banned in 2007 from entering Bangladesh amid a state of emergency. She defied the ban and touched down in Dhaka from UK to be immediately arrested. The support for Hasina was enormous by now, and in 2009, she was sworn in again as Prime Minister, ending 2 years of rule by an army-backed interim government. Her third term as Prime Minister was controversial as Hasina was accused of winning a not-so-fair election in 2013. Hasina's party rolled into victory in an election that was boycotted by the main opposition party and was marred by deadly unrest. It was in a third term that Hasina garnered international praise for sheltering Rohingya refugees from Myanmar.
We want that they should put more pressure to Myanmar government so that they take them back.
In 2019, Prime Minister Hasina returned to power when her Awami League won 288 of the 300 parliamentary seats. But again, an election that faced endless scrutiny for not providing a level playing ground for the opposition. And earlier this year, Hasina returned for her fourth consecutive term, her fifth term overall as Prime Minister of Bangladesh that has now come to an end abruptly. Hasina chose to so far call the protest as motivated, but now has been forced to bow down to their demands.
When arson terrorism started, the protesting students said they were not involved in it. And we condemn it. We do not want it. When they pulled off from the protest, I deployed the army only then. I did not do it before that. Many want to tell me about deploying the army against the students. I was involved in student politics starting from Dhaka University. I know what the army could do.
In the past 15 years, Hasina has been credited with turning around Bangladesh's economy while winning international praise for sheltering Rohingya Muslims and turning around India-Bangladesh ties. But for now, it looks like it's the end of the road for the five-time Prime Minister. Bureau Report, India Today.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini. Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hello, I am